What's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I am back with another post-fight analysis video. All right, y'all. Amanda Lemos versus Montserrat Conejo Ruiz. Wow, man. Amanda Lemos once again showed us why she's a major threat for the top strawweights. I mean, pretty much, though, I will say this. Once you match these two type of fighters up, these two type of styles, this is what you're going to get. Whether you say the stoppage was premature or not, this was going to happen in the first or second round, like I said. I mean, with the power and accuracy of Lemos and the bull rushing and lack of defense of Ruiz, this is what you're going to get. But first, I know y'all going to ask me these questions. Do I think Lemos was going to KO Ruiz? Yes, that was my pick. So, yeah, I do think Lemos was going to KO Ruiz at some point in this fight, like first or second round. Do I think the stoppage was premature? Yes, I do think the stoppage was premature, though. You know, I thought the stoppage was premature. It was to open a minute. And I do believe that a fighter deserves a chance to put it all out there, especially if they still have that instinct to bounce back up and create space to clear their heads. I think they deserve that. You know, I think they do deserve that. They work hard for that, especially, like I said, this was to open a minute here. I know Ruiz was fighting a very unintelligent fight. You know, it wasn't a very smart approach on Ruiz. It wasn't a very smart approach on Ruiz's part, but she deserves that, you know, and she did bounce back up to try to defend herself. I think Ruiz was eating too many big shots, and she got dropped hard, but the impact of the mat kind of woke her up. You know, it did kind of wake her up and put her on defensive mode, so she did deserve that, I think. The more and more I watched it, because I watched it several times again, you know, last night. I watched it after the fight, of course, and, you know, I watched it 3 or 4 more times, and I kept replaying it, just looking at the position of the referee and the reaction of Ruiz. And Ruiz was foggy as she rolled, but she had enough time to get up and clear her head and say, I got to go in defensive mode. It wasn't like Jessica I get knocked out by Valentina, you know, not knowing what happened. You know what I mean? It wasn't like she was starched. It wasn't like she was like out. So I want to talk about that here in a minute. But real quick, I mean, right away, first round, Lemos, she was setting that offensive pace. You know, nice stance with her feet. You know, she was on the balls of her feet, yet she still was about generating power the way she had that stance. You know, she was ready for Ruiz to come in. You know, she was meeting her in the center of the octagon, you know, ready to let off hard shots. I mean, right away, Lemos stepped in, landed a hard right body kick that smacked Ruiz to the body. And you could see the reaction from Ruiz. Ruiz still wanted to attack, but Lemos, she followed up with a hard left hand and a stiff right hand that cracked Ruiz right on the chin. And then she followed up with the hard kick to the face as Ruiz rushed in again. Then finally, Amanda Lemos was able to create some space, and as she created space and she was back into the opposite side of the octagon, Ruiz, she was about to rush in again, and as she was rushing in, it really looked like she was looking down here. I don't know why she had her eyes down at the feet. Maybe she thought another kick was coming, but this wasn't a smart move. Like, she looked like she was looking down. If y'all go back and look at it, as she was looking down, Lemos came over the top and cracked her chin with a good right hand, and she stumbled forward. You could tell she was about out from it, and she wanted to hold up on Lemos, but Lemos caught her with a big left hand where it looked like, I don't know if it was the elbow or the forearm that caught her too, and she fell hard and rolled. But as she was rolling, the referee, he already jumped in. He was already waving it off. He was already waving it off as Ruiz bounced back up and she stumbled backwards. You know, she was awake. She was foggy, but she was awake. But the referee, he waved it off anyway. You know, once you go back and just kind of look at it there, like, as she rolled, Lemos kind of pushed through the ref and she kind of grazed it on the top with the hammer fist, and she was able to protect herself. She still kind of, like, her first reaction was to roll and go to the other side, but the referee was already stepping in, waving it off. So I was like, whoa, you know. So another question, could it have went on? Yeah, I think so. I think it could have, because after she ate that hard right hand, she rolled, ate one hammer fist that kind of grazed the side of her head, and she had enough instinct in her to bounce back up. You know, so the referee, to me, he should have moved and let it go on. You know, granted, Ruiz stumbled back as she was walking backwards. If you go back and look, she did kind of like stumble and buckle, but her hands were up. Her hands were up, and she went into defense mode to protect herself. Like, she put her back to the cage with her hands up. So she had a chance. In my opinion, she did have a chance. But if Lemos came after her and started to land and Ruiz couldn't protect herself, then yeah, that's when the referee should have stepped in and stopped it. So as she stumbled back and put her hands up, you know, that's whenever the referee, in my opinion, I think he could have stopped it, you know, because that way you would have gave that person a chance, because she still had enough instinct, like I said, and she still had enough sense to get back to her feet and protect herself. But if she ate 1 or 2 hard shots as she was standing, then yeah, you know, because when he stepped in, well, let's say if he didn't step in whenever she first got knocked down, if Lemos like landed 3 or 4 hammer fists and she didn't get up, and she wouldn't get up, then yeah, he should have stopped it. But he stepped in and gave Ruiz time to recover and tried to wave it off. So I was like, wow, he just gave her more recovery time there, so he should have just let it play out. You know, it wasn't like Ruiz was stretched out from the shot. Like I said, it wasn't like she was Jessica Eye. You know, she wasn't paralyzed where she was just about to eat 3 or 4 hammer fists and then you got to stop the person. No, she rolled and he kind of stepped in early and gave her more time to recover, because she still had her senses. She still had her senses once you go back and look at it. So yeah, man, her instinct was to get back up. I think it was a premature stoppage, but that's why I believe sometimes we need something like a count in MMA, like we do in boxing when you get dropped. You know what I mean? Especially if you get dropped hard enough just to get hurt, but not enough to get like paralyzed and knocked out. Like if it's not a like starching, you know, I think that person deserves something like a count, you know, because that's the only way you're going to get a fair deal, you know, if you still have time to recover, if you're not completely out. You know, that's just how I think about it. That's just how I think about it. But man, from here, it was like I thought, though. You know, it was too big a leap for somebody like Ruiz, you know, with only 1 fight in the UFC, going in against a top 15 fighter. She needed a lower level fighter, in my opinion. I said that. She maybe needed a Kay Hansen or a Corey McKenna or even a Loma Labutni. You know, Ruiz didn't need to be in there with somebody like Lemos. You know, Lemos really needed that high-ranked opponent, you know. But according to Lemos, you know, 2 top 5 fighters didn't want her. You know, she wanted to return ASAP, and they offered her, word is they offered her Tecia Torres, but Tecia Torres had turned the fight down, I guess because she wanted a higher-ranked opponent, but she turned it down. And then somebody else, you know, that they didn't put the name out there because she couldn't remember, they turned down the fight, and she wanted to come back ASAP, which I respect that. So the only name she could get was Ruiz, because I think they were going to try to give her an opponent in October, but she was like, no, I want to fight now. So they gave her Ruiz, you know, which I agree with her, though. You know, she deserves a top 10 opponent now. You know, that's why I said don't put her in there with Ruiz, because this is going to be a bit of a mismatch. But from here, she deserves to close out a year with the top 10 fighter, you know, which we'll discuss in another video. She definitely does. I mean, she's been showing a lot of growth in her past few fights, and her skill sets are showing that level, like I say about some of these flyweights that deserve to be tested now because they advanced out of the tier that she's in. You know, Amanda Lemos' skill sets are advancing a bit more so than the fighters that are around her. So it's time to test them against some top-level competition. You know what I mean? So she definitely deserves a name to close out 2021. As for Ruiz, you know, shout out to Ruiz. You know, I still like her. I'm a fan of her, but I just, you know, thought this was a bad fight for her style-wise. You know, I just felt like it was a bad fight for her style-wise, and it really did show. Like I said, stoppage aside, I really thought that this outcome was going to come at some point in the first round or the second round. It really was, because of the lack of defense and just the way she was rushing in. Like I said, go back and look at that point too, where when the knockout came, like it was kind of like she was looking down. That's why she ate the right hand and got buckled the first time, ate the left hand and went down. But yeah, man, let me know in the comment section what y'all think. Do y'all think the stoppage was too premature? You know, do you think the stoppage was premature? Do you think the stoppage was premature, or do you think it was legit? Like I said, I can understand where the referee was coming from, but I would have let it play out a little bit more because she did bounce back to her feet. But let me know, guys, what y'all think. Who do y'all want to see Lemos fight from here? Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.